Well, the rain has finally stopped, and it looks like we're going to have a calm weekend. With all the fresh water, our guides are standing by to tell you how you should adjust your fishing if you're going out on the water. So grab a cold one, because it's time for the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
Welcome back to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. We're your hosts, Brie Gabrielle and Captain Rick Murphy, gearing you up for a fun-filled Memorial Day weekend, complete with red, white, and blue barbecues, and of course, fishing. Right, Rick? Where's your red, white, and blue?
Red, white, and blue?
What?
I didn't wear red, white, and blue.
Right.
Actually, I got red, white, and blue shorts.
It's okay. I'm extra sensitive to the patriotism.
But where's your cold one?
Oh, I won't be having one of those till the end of the summertime. It's fine.
You put yourself in cold one timeout.
You know what? That was rude. How rude of you.
Look
Dave,
what you did to yourself.
how can you say that?
She can't even celebrate the holidays or her birthday
I'm gonna
this
have
year.
a cold
I
water.
didn't have anything to do with it either. It was all on you.
It was.
Yeah.
What's on your workbench?
Well, everything. Look at all this stuff. I got a ton of stuff here. We're going to be talking about catching crappie today.
Crappie.
So I've got a bunch of little tiny things.
Tiny things for some big things.
Yep.
That's it.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
All right, there's always a lot going on in the lower fresh region, so we're starting off with Matt Reed reporting on Choke Canyon, Lake Bastrop, Lake Austin, and Lake Falcon. Let's get the holiday weekend started, Matt.
All right, Brie, let's kick this off with my normal largemouth bass report. Mike Bates sent me a report from Choke Canyon. Good news is the lake has come up, around 4 feet, maybe a little more, causing half the lake to be, pretty muddy, pretty stained. But it's a great thing to have some incoming water in these South Texas lakes. The lower end of the lake is obviously clear. It has scattered the bass a little bit, but there's still some schooling action on the points in 2 or 3 foot of water. And when you find those fish schooling, busting on the shed, you can catch them on pretty much anything. A topwater, square bill, Cincos, any of that type of baits are working. The hydrilla is growing super fast now. It's got some good clean water over the top of it, and in the warming temperatures cause it to grow real fast. The bass are still using it. You can catch them on a moving bait, like a rattle bait or a spinner bait over the top. Get you a Texas rig soft plastic on the outside edge to get a bunch of bites that way. The deep bite's been a little bit slower this week because of the rising water. That's caused more of them to move shallow. But you can still catch some out there on a deep diving crankbait, Carolina rigs, and a 1 ounce spinner bait. Brian Cotter sent me a report from over in the Austin area. Lake Bastrop is getting better. Early you can find a few fish schooling in the discharge. Hot water discharge, you want to throw a small swim bait and top waters around that surface activity. If you can't catch them on top, get you a shaky head trick worm and fish it on the bottom in that area. When that slows down and up in the day, go down toward the dam out in the middle. They love to school out in that area. Bastrop is one of those lakes that is a great schooling lake where you get a lot of surface activity. Other ways you can catch them, you can get on the grass patches on the edges with a wacky worm or flukes to catch some good fish. Lynx Lake is fishing really well right now. There've been some nice fish caught. Work any reed patches you can find with a wacky rigged stick bait or a Texas rig it. If you want to get closer to the cover, watermelon red or watermelon candy have been the best colors. Also getting some big bites on a frog worked in the same areas. Move over to the docks and skip a jig or a Texas rig under there in that shade. It's a great summer presentation to get quite a few bites. Also, don't ignore the ends of the docks and there's brush piles on a lot of the ends of the docks. Throw your square bill crankbait and catch you some fish off of those brush piles. Lake Austin has picked up this year. Been some really big fish showing up again. Been several 10-pounders caught lately. Most of them have come skipping a jig under docks. They love that shade cover under there. Lots of bluegill and shad also, use those for cover. Also, you want to look in that 15 to 20 foot range on the deep ledges with a big crankbait to add you a big one. Down in my world, Falcon Lake, it's come up just under 3 feet. The fishing has been really good. Concentrate on the rock in 6 to 12 foot. They're biting crankbaits fair, but most of my damage lately has been done on a Carolina rig and a big stand-up head with a Magnum trick worm type bait on there. Been great numbers with quite a few big ones mixed in. Got a picture there with Lance and Jason from just one of our big, Falcon specials this week. I always love it when you got customers smiling.
Yeah, bud, me too. Good job. Tell me about the crappies, man.
All right, the crappie fishing down here is just on fire. The brush piles are full of fish, full-blown summer, so they're all back out there and stacked up. You can catch a 2-man limit right now, 50 crappie on average, and I would say average is an hour and a half. Drop a 1/8-ounce jig down into the brush pile. Chartreuse red, June bug chartreuse are the best 2 colors, and you can feel your live well in a hurry. Got a picture there of a cooler full of good eating crappie.
Oh, yummy, man. All right, bud. We got some unfinished business to go do next time I come back. I can see crappie for dinner and a big bass in my future. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the FiberTech Lower Fresh region. Matt says the Choke Canyon is still rocking and the bass are feeding very shallow and early on spinnerbaits and square bills. Later in the day, throw moving baits and Texas rigged worms on the outside edge of the hydrilla for lots of the numbers and probably a big one, Brie.
You'll catch that big one one day.
I hope
on
so.
Lake Fork. It's going to be you, I promise.
I wonder how many casts I'm going to have to make before I catch him.
Hopefully not a lot. All right, let's venture into the Fish Bites Upper Coast region because we are celebrating more than just Memorial Day. Congrats to our Captain Carl and his fiancée Natasha, who just got engaged while they were in Florida last week. Congrats, you two. We're happy for you. You guys are a perfect couple.
Well, thank you. We had a blast with you last week, and can't thank you enough for your hospitality. We feel like family now.
You guys are
You're
family.
always our family. Let's hit the report.
We just exercised on that. So anyway, this week we just had a lot of rain. We didn't miss much down here being in Florida because it rained all week. The water temps are staying about 74 to 79 degrees in Sabine Lake, but there has been no water visibility at all with all these storms. It's just muddy out there. Trinity Bay, West and East Galveston Bays are reporting the same conditions. Stained water is most places. It seems like the jetties are the best place for clear water right now. I would definitely throw something like a Berkeley Choppa 90 in that black chrome in these type of water conditions. You'll be able to see that if there's a little sunlight out, it'll really improve your odds there. As always, live shrimp on a popping cork is working well too. And I had to put up a picture of this huge red I caught with Rick last week.
Aww. Cute.
The trout bite has been tough also, guys. Like I said, the storms have just not given us a break here in the upper coast. That fresh water has pushed the trout also out the jetties and out towards the Gulf. The water temperature this time of year usually on the rise, so fishing from the surf is usually an ideal condition and an ideal time. Live bait with these stable water conditions might be your best choice right now in these conditions. Doesn't mean your artificials won't work. And if you do throw artificials right now, just try to stick to a light color, such as white or lime green. We've got a picture today of Wesley and Holly with a nice load of trout on the board right there.
Wow.
Nice.
Not bad.
So, amberjack. Let's talk about amberjack offshore. Season's coming to a close. It's only right that we talk about these things that just jerk your arm off. Hopefully, we'll get some better weather conditions to get out and target these big guys in the next week. You know, amberjack are the largest of the most common amberjack we have along the Gulf Coast in Texas, usually found around reefs and oil rigs in our waters. Although they say the average 20 to 30 pounds, you know, Rick, we've caught them up to 130, and actually a 70 or 80 pound amberjack is very common in our area. And so now you're going to need to go heavy fishing around here for these guys. You know, a prime example would be using a heavy 16-aught Trokar circle hook. I would tie that to the new 500-pound R&R tackle leader, going to our main line, which is diamond, 300-pound wind on, and also a 300-pound ball bearing swivel. So, you know, you're going to have to go big to go around structure here. I have a picture of Nick from Crockett with a nice AJ.
Nice. All right, one more to go, bub.
let's talk about red snapper. Although the season's just around the corner, it's not open yet. It opens here June 1st. You know, if last year's season was any indication of how things are going to go, this should be a banner year for red snapper. Now, while fishing structure earlier this year, we have marked some really big schools, these guys, on the Garmin bottom machine. And as just a friendly reminder, CCA has added the red snapper category back to the Star Tournament in our area. So don't miss the opportunity to weigh in one of these big fish this year. Go sign up. All of your traditional baits and rigs are going to get the job done. But going light tackle for a battle this way with these fish is way more fun. Tip you a bucktail with some fish bites, you'll really remember the fight because these fish can fight really well in light tackle. You know, keep that diamond moy line tight and the fight is on when you're going in light tackle. As far as flavors and colors go for the fish bites, I have not used one yet the snapper don't like. And so, you know, these things, when you get hot and heavy, just keep your Star Bright products to clean the boat up. And we've got a picture today of a red snapper who bit on fish bites.
Nice. So, Carl, I do have a quick question for you before I read the R&R Tackle Hotspots. You know, one of the questions when you're fishing those snappers, what kind of bait do you like to use if you're using natural baits that doesn't fall off? What are you using and not keep them from pecking it off?
I use squid because you can kind of double hook it, and if you have fresh squid, it'll stay on through a couple strikes, and you'll get hooked up.
All right, and then also, what size circle hook do you like for those guys?
I use a 6 to an 8, depending on the size of the fish. I'll start with a 6, but if I'm fishing some live bait for some really large snapper, I'll go up to about an 8.
All right, and live bait, what are you using? A pinfish, or what are you using for them?
We use pinfish, pogies. We'll net pogies by the jetty, and small hardtails.
Okay, there you go. I bet a small hardtail clip his tail so he can't run from them could really produce a big one. All right, bud, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the R&R Tackle Hotspots from the Upper Coast region. He says inshore redfish fish along the jetties throwing Berkeley Chapo 90s in chrome, and then offshore, check out those amberjacks fishing deep water structure using live baits on a 16-0 Eagle Claw circle hook, and don't forget the R&R leader.
AJ's. All right, stay with us, party people. We're fishing the Alvey Reels Lower Coast region when we come back, but first, I just heard something. The Workbench is calling our names for rigs and techniques with Dave Farrell.
That's drag pulling. That's drag pulling. You can hear that.
That is drag pulling.
Yeah, look at this.
All of our ears perk up when we hear that.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about jigging. A lot of jigging for crappies.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, he's going to be getting jiggy with it.
Get your Garmin Live Scope out.
Exactly.
Woo, woo, woo. We'll be back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Bajío. Fresh eyes for a rich life. Garmin. Plot your paradise. Fibertex. Leaders in fiberglass fabrication and repair. Sportsman's Adventures. Fishing for adventure. Penn. Let the battle begin. And Skeeter Performance Fishing Boats. Eat, sleep, fish.
Yamaha's reputation for saltwater reliability is driven by the 4.2-liter V6 Offshore's 97% reliability and overall performance. Reimagined with new advantages like built-in digital electric steering for incredible responsiveness and exhaust rerouting for more powerful reverse thrust. The legacy of the reliable Yamaha 4.2-liter V6 continues, now more refined and capable than ever. Yamaha, reliability starts here.
Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. For the Bay and beyond, team up with the best and rule the Bay in a Skeeter. Proven with 20 consecutive NMMA Consumer Satisfaction Awards. And now, through June 21st, you can launch into your summer with sizzling rebates of up to $2,500. Versatility, control, performance, and design. The Skeeter Summer Sizzling Savings Event is happening now through June 21st. Visit your local dealer or online at SkeeterBoats.com. Skeeter, it's more than just a boat, it's a lifestyle.
Have you ever felt your heart pounding while feeling the power of a tarpon in the Florida Keys? Or experienced the changing colors of a mahi as you bring it on board? Whether it's in the Bahamas, the Florida Keys, Guatemala, or the Florida Everglades, Murphy's Law Sports Fishing has the ability to guide you to the fish of a lifetime. To book your trip today, call 305-246-0673 or go to murphyslawsportfishing.com.
Dave, man, this is a very colorful workbench.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
so why don't we just go ahead and get started with the rigs and techniques?
Well,
there,
crappie is one of the most popular fish in Texas. It's one of the popular sport fish. You got really generous limits, 25 per person, and they're really good to eat. They're probably one of the best freshwater fish you can eat. And so they're pursued quite hard. And we got two different kinds. We got the black crappie and then the white crappie. The black one's out, in East Texas more than, and the white one's all over. The black one has irregular black spotches on it, and the white one is pretty much got vertical bars. You can see the bars in it, usually. Both of them will blacken up during spawning time, which is about right now. Springtime, as they spawn in the spring. Mm-hmm. So once the water gets 72 degrees, they start going up into the coves and getting into that 6 foot of water, because they make nests just like a bass or anything else does. They'll make a big nest and get in there and hollow out a place. And when they do that, there's usually a bunch of them. Usually when you catch one crappie, you're going to catch more than one. So that's a good rule of thumb. If you're out searching for them, once you're using your live scope, that thing is a game changer. When you're in a lake that's got a lot of stumps in it, you can hop from one stump to the next and spot the fish on it. Usually if you see a whole bunch of fish on there, they're going to be all pretty much the same size. There'll be, some bigger ones in there, but most of the time if there's a bunch of them, they're all around the same size on the smaller side. If you find a stump with like 1 or 2 fish on it, they're usually big ones. Mm-hmm. When you find those stumps with just 1 or 2 or 3 maybe, and you can actually watch them come and get your jig. And this is a regular type of jig rod here. This is like a 10-foot rod. It's very, very limber. It's kind of like a big bamboo pole, a cane pole, but it's got a little reel on it. And the reel, you put little cheap reels on them. The reel's mainly just for sucking up line. You're really not fighting the fish that much on the reel. When you're looking at your live scope there, and you get up on a stump, you want to present that. And we got a little weight on here. If the fish are deeper water, 10 feet deep or deeper than that, you might want to use a little bit of weight to get your jig down there to them a little quicker. Exactly. And you notice I got this little filament jig on there. Mm-hmm. If you're going to be vertical jigging, right above the fish, try to get as close to the stump as you can and get right over the top of it. You're going to want to use little things like this one or a hand-tied, like a Malibu jig like this, because they have all these little hairs and whatnot, and you've got that little filament. And when you're sitting there still, even the motion of the boat, little wave action, your hand holding the rod, when you've got one of these 10-foot rods with a really limber pole, a little limber tip on it, just you sitting there holding it still will make that thing jubilate, as you would say. It moves just a little bit, and it gets that, and the hair will really start to flutter, and that's why you want to use those little ones too with the little filaments on it. Right. Now you notice I got some other ones down there with little paddle tails and stuff like that, little curly tails. Those are jigs that you would rather, throw, cast, and retrieve back to you, or throw on the other side of the stump and let it fall in an arc and move that tail. Because once just like you said before, if you've got a little tail, you want it to be moving, because that's what that tail's on there for. Yeah. It's made to, do that. It's made to move. Yeah. And you can catch them on, you can even go to a regular size rod like this, and this has got a live bait rig on it, and I just put a couple of jigs on here to illustrate.
Illustrate.
Little soft baits.
That would be a live minnow.
That would be a live minnow you could put on there, or even a wax worm. You can use worms and catch crappies just as easily. And you can put 2 or 3 You can actually put jigs on here as well.
Right.
If you were not wanting to use a live bait, you could rig up a rig like this with just jigs on it and put 2 or 3 little jigs, 16-ounce
That's cool.
jigs just like these other ones, and have it sitting right up on top of them. You don't want to go below them. You want to stay above them because they will come up.
But they like eating up.
Correct. They like to go up. They don't like to go down to get their stuff. And what you can do is when you're getting right up on top of them, you can stop a little ways above them and jig it, or you can try to drop it till it's right in front of their face and then stop it. And that, sometimes that'll trigger a reaction bite out of them because, they'll come up to eat it a lot of times. But if they're not coming up to eat it, sometimes if you drop it right down in their face and stop it real quick, boom, they'll pop it right then. And, that really long limber rod, you'll feel it and he'll just come tight. You don't have to do a whole lot of hook setting.
That's what the Garmin Live Scope has done now.
You can watch
actually
your jig.
see your jig or your sinker.
Correct.
When it gets to the right height, you stop it.
Right. You can see the fish actually turn because when they're facing facing you, they're a very thin fish, so you don't even see them. They disappear. But when they turn sideways, boy, they show right up on that screen, and you can see them going straight up to the jig. It's so crazy. Cool. It's like a video game. It's really neat.
Dave, good job over here tonight. That was really informative, don't you think, Brie?
Yes, one of the funnest days of fishing I've ever had has been on the Garmin Live Scope fishing for crappie with Johnny in the Upper Fresh region.
Nice.
Absolutely, it was a blast. All right, the Alvey Reels Lower Coast region is definitely in party mode and ready to celebrate, and for good reason. But Captain Chad Kinney is somewhere in the Gulf of Mexico, so I'll be reading his report tonight. And Chad Kinney says we are starting out trout fishing. It's finally turned on, and as he mentioned in the past few reports, bait is plentiful in the bay system due to the dredging being completed in the East Cut. They're down to 20 feet deep all the way to the port, which is allowing bait to come in and trout from the surf. Look for them to hold on deeper breaks in 4 to 6 feet of water by the weather station. Freeline croaker working the best. Remember, limits temporarily change south. 3 trout, 17 to 23 inches, which actually yields more than 5 at 15 inches. There's been good trout released also on Mirror topwaters early and on live bait. And Captain Chad Kinney has a picture of a trout here.
Nice.
Looking pretty
that's
good.
a big trout. Nice.
That's a big trout. Trout fishing turned on. Look at that.
I like
he
it.
Ain't lying.
It's good to know that the freeze didn't hurt their trout fishing too bad.
Not too bad.
All right,
By
let's
the
go
looks
to
of
the
it.
next one.
All right, species 2, black drum, are up in the land cut and south to Padre Island. Fresh dead shrimp works great, or fish bites on the bottom edge of the ICW. Wait for fish to feed off the bottom, then see the hook. A lot of fun on an Alvey 60 to 80, spooled with some diamond braid 20 to 30 pound. This gives plenty of time for a run and also a great drag system to land some of the bigger fish. If you start getting into the oversized drum, then bump up to the 100 Alvey. Plenty action and good table fare on the small to medium black drum. All right, Rick, I think we're ready to go offshore.
Let's do it.
All right. Amberjack, woohoo! Amberjack season is open this month and will close June 1st, so if you're targeting them, head out to deeper structure in 150 feet or deeper oil rigs. Wrecks and natural structure will hold these the best. If using spinning tackle, try Penn 6500 Spin Fisher, bigger with a blue water pen carnage rod. This combo is great and helps with a faster retrieve while jigging for AJs. Use a 5 to 7 ounce vertical jig and strip it with fish bites, sliced down the middle. Look at Garmin Finder to spot where the fish are holding and work that column constantly and hold on tight for the ride.
So Brie, I'm going to tell you a little bit of something about jigging the jig.
Okay, you tell me about jigging the jig.
Certainly vertical jigs, the metal jigs that we catch a lot of tunas as well as amberjacks on. What you're going to do is that's going to be a quick jigging thing.
Right.
And a lot of times what you want to do is bring the rod up and drop it quickly. Drop it quickly. When you're fishing a bucktail like this eagle claw trocar jig,
Fish with,
you want to, with fish bites.
Yeah.
What you're going to want to do is now you're dropping it down, and it's taking the attitude like this. When you stop it for a second before you pop, what happens with bucktail is it flares out like so. So it actually makes it look like it's breathing, that there's a
like
cavity of a fish starting to breathe. certainly a fish bite gives it some smell.
Right.
So we have a photo of an amberjack,
Let's
Brie.
see it. See this big AJ.
Oh man, and now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the red snapper. Looks like you got a wahoo there with some amberjacks.
Oh yeah, look at that. What a
go
great
ahead.
day. All right, species 2, red snapper, remains open in state waters and will open June 1st for federal. Remember, you can get 2 in federal and come back into state for another 2. But do not catch 2 in state and go federal for 2 more, which is illegal possession. That's a very good detail there. Target these fish in structure in 60 to 90 feet of water and use some lighter eagle claw choke guard jigs, 1 to 3 ounce for them. After catching your dinner or limit, roll a bit with mirror lure divers for kingfish around the same structure. And there you have it.
All right, so
Rick, you want to take it away?
Yeah, I want to read the shallow sport hotspots
Go for it.
from the lower coast region. Let's see what he says. In short, he says this weekend, maybe we should do some trout fishing, picking up around Port Mansfield using live croakers and that 5-0 Eagle Claw Kale Hook, free line them. And then offshore, there's been some black drum up in the land cut and out south in the deeper waters, as well as in South Padre Island. And there was also some AJs that I left off the report.
Well,
My bad.
I can't wait to see what Chad's
AJ's on the structure.
pulling up in the Gulf right now, right? If he's
Yeah,
not on the
man.
show, he must be fishing.
No, he bought a new boat over
Oh.
in Florida, and now he's bringing it back to Texas. Can you
Well,
imagine that journey?
That's better. He's getting a boat.
Right now, he's staring at Garmin's.
Yes, he is. All right, when we come back, we're seeing what the middle and upper fresh regions are reeling in for the 3-day weekend ahead. And remember to keep up with everything fishing in Texas. Make sure to head on over to our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and to see new fishing adventures along with reports, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Captain Rick Murphy. We'll see you soon.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Contender Boats, always in the game. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Alvy Reels, a better way to fish. Berkeley, your fish, our science. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Penn, let the battle begin.
The Yamaha VMAX V6 SHO continues to deliver the level of performance that pro bass and multi-species anglers demand. Underneath a bold and aggressive new look, an upgraded charging system with 40% more charging power meets the amped-up demand for today's advanced electronics. The VMAX SHO, raw power, reliability, and exhilarating performance for every angler who loves the sport enough to invest in the best. Yamaha, reliability starts here.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites. We are the Fish Bites Nation, and this is your invitation. So grab some fish bites and get busy casting, because you can't join the nation without doing the catching. Ask for Fish Bites or Fish Bites Fight Club lures, or visit fishbites.com.
Today's Power Pole tip, we're talking wireless remote controls. The Power Pole comes out of the box with 2 remote controls, a wireless key fob and a wireless dash switch. This dash switch is very smart. It has the ability to operate both power poles. If you have duals, you can operate your left one or your right one or both together. It also has this little speedometer here to change the poles from fast, medium, and slow depending on your fishing situation. As always, all our remote controls have auto deployment up and down. If you double tap any remote control, the pole will automatically come up, or double tap the down button and it'll go automatically down. We added a new feature to the Sea Monster app. If you go into System Configuration and you hit your remote controls, you can scroll up, change any of those remotes from a double tap to a single tap, which is really nice and fast when you're out on the water. That's your Power Pole tip.
Again, the Sea Monster app allows you to have even more control of the total boat control power
Even
pole.
more.
Even more.
Even more.
Can you believe it?
Total control.
Total control.
Love it.
That works for you, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. All right,
Sure
we've got our guide, Matt Losher, on the line giving us all the details on Richland Chambers, Toledo Bend, and Sam Rayburn. So, Matt, help us get our weekend started.
All right, Brie. Well, the story has been rain, and more rain. Somehow we've been able to get out there and fish just about every day. Thankfully, most of the rain's been in the evening or overnight hours. But we've got a lot of high lakes, so you can certainly put those power poles to work doing some serious shallow fishing in the Middle Fresh region right now. So, getting into the bass report, I'm going to start up at Richland Chambers. Mr. Thurman Selman with Bass and Specialty Guide Service up there reports that they are super shallow. He said these fish are as shallow as they can get. Thanks to all that high water that we've got right now. You know, like I said, we've had a ton of rain, and Richland Chambers is high like most of our lakes. Said the backs of the creeks are still muddy. The out in the main lake is not too bad, and he's using bladed jigs to catch them. That's been his bait of choice, and he's sticking a Bass Assassin swim bait on there as a trailer. So that's a lot of fun fishing there. Throwing that chatterbait up there with the swim bait on there, and that really shallow stuff makes some aggressive strikes. So get out there and check that out. Now here on Toledo Bend, we still have high water as well, and there's also a heavy current in Toledo Bend right now because the dam operators have 11 floodgates open in addition to the 2 hydroelectric generators that are running 24 hours a day. They are flowing a lot of water through Toledo Bend right now. Our water temperature is hanging out in the mid-70s, and the water's lightly stained on the main lake, kind of muddy in the backs of the creek. And all that being said is, you know, basically amounts to the fish still hanging out shallow. Bass Assassin swim baits in that Houdini color are good, as well as white swim jigs. There's still a little bit of a shad spawn going on, so that kind of plays into that. And some big fish are being caught on worms and crankbaits out a little deeper, but the numbers are not great because we've got all this current and all that high water. It's just keeping a lot of those fish shallow. It's keeping them from really ganging up in big schools on the offshore stuff. Now, bass on Sam Rayburn, once again, in the flooded cover as well. That lake is a flood control lake, so they're letting it come up with all this rain. It's almost 8 feet above pool level last I checked, and they still aren't releasing any water, so that lake is probably going to continue to rise. So don't look for that shallow water fishing to be going away anytime soon over there. The water temperature there is about 75 degrees right now, and a variety of baits are working, including topwater baits that have been good early in the morning, and then worms have been good later in the day, getting down around those bushes and trees and in the grass. You still got that inside hydrilla grass line. It's always a player when the water's up like that. So a lot of fun stuff to be throwing at. So if you're a shallow water fisherman for bass, you're in hog heaven over there at Rayburn right now. Now switching over to white bass and hybrids. Mr. Thurman tells me that the hybrids have been biting good on Richland Chambers as well. And then here on Toledo Bend, we've had a great time this week catching white bass. They're finally starting to stack up on the primary points and the flats in about 15 to 30 foot of water. And we're using minnows to catch them for the most part, just tight lining a minnow on a big split shot down there right below the boat. And then when they start getting really fired up, sometimes I'll switch over to jigging spoons in a silver or gold color. But the minnows have been a little more consistent this week for that. Now on the crappie, they've been biting pretty well this week at Toledo Bend as well. They aren't quite as stacked as we'd like to see them, that current and whatnot is still keeping a lot of them kind of down toward the bottom and up on the points and whatnot, so they haven't really got stacked in the timber just yet. There is some out there, but we're still hanging out in about 15 to 25 foot of water. Minnows and jigs have been about equal this week for catching them. Now the jigs may be just a little bit better because they seem to like a moving presentation the best, and monkey milk with a chartreuse tail have been the best colors for me lately in those panfish assassin jigs. And I'm putting it on a 16th ounce jig head the majority of the time. And I'm going to finish out here with a photo of the Lannery family with a nice table full of crappie and a few yellow bass in there as well that we caught this week.
Good job, Matt. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Middle Fresh region. The bass are mostly shallow biting bladed jigs, swim baits, topwaters early in the morning. The white bass are biting minnows in 15 to 30 feet, and the crappie are eating minnows and jigs in 15 to 25 feet.
All right, in the Upper Fresh region, we're fishing on Lake Welsh and Lake Forth. So for that big bite, Johnny, why don't you go ahead and tell us some more for the weekend?
I'll do that, Bree. I'm talking about old Lake Welsh. Took you there last October. Hey, the post-spawn's over on this coal-powered power plant lake in East Texas. Man, that lake received a lot of pressure all winter and spring, but it's now a great time to head back over to Welsh. The crowds are gone, and if you enjoy topwater fishing, this is the place to be. The bass are getting into their summer patterns, and they're fattening back up after the spawn. So I'm starting out early in the morning using topwater poppers and spook-type baits for some real explosive strikes, and if the wind's calm, you really got to slow down and work that popper real slow. Let it sit a lot of time between the pops. Use mono line and don't get in a hurry. The strikes can be very explosive, or the bass may just ease up under it. You see a little rise in the water and suck the lure down. So pay attention to how the bass are taking the lure and try to repeat that cast. If there's a good chop on the water, start out with a buzz bait or a spook type bait and fish close to the windy hydrilla points. After that early morning bite's over, we go to a drop shot, usually a red bug colored worm, gets a lot of bites and punch that outer edges of the hydrilla mats. Some days the bass, they might prefer a shaky head or a Nico rigged worm, but they're usually bunched up around the points and the guts of that hydrilla, so that's what you want to look for. Usually when you get a bite, there's a lot more of them around that same area, so don't move off. I'm seeing the bass, believe it or not, on my Garmin Live Scope through that hydrilla mats. Actually can see them moving in there. Like to fish the upper end of Lake Welsh at this time of year, early in the morning, and then we'll move down to mid-lake and the dam area later in the day. On the cloudy days, you may have an all-day bite on the upper end, so don't leave if it's going to be overcast. The water outlet area is a community hole. It produces a lot of fish every day, but they're usually a little smaller than the bass we're catching around the hydrilla mats right now. Here's a picture of two bass I caught over at Lake Welsh on a topwater bait on one cast, so good bite there.
Nice, Johnny.
Next up, we're going to talk about the bass on Lake Fork. It's that time of year. The last wave of the spawning bass is finally finished up, and some of the early spawners are over that post-spawn funk, and now they're moving out to their summertime holes. More and more bass will be schooling up on these long points, the humps, and the ridges, and on the underwater bridges. It's my favorite time of year on Fork to catch big numbers of big bass. Bass will be on the same feeding areas. Right now we're catching the white bass on, and after those sand bass quit feeding, the big bass move in and feed. My customers will be catching the big bass on live bluegills. Many of them will catch their personal best during June. We start out each morning fishing topwaters, about 30 minutes or so, and then we'll hit a brush pile, catch up 20 to 30 small bluegills to use for bait, put them in the live well, and head out to those points. We'll rig up using a Carolina rig with a 1 ounce weight, hook that brim through the lips or on the back, and we'll be fishing the brim vertically, and I'll be watching that Garmin for the schools of bass to show up. The action may be slow until the bass move up to feed, but boy, then the action can be totally chaotic, so be ready. It's not uncommon to have 2 or 3 hook up at the same time, and when we get a school fired up, it's game on then. Some days the channel catfish they'll be beating around eating the brim, and also occasionally I'll just cut that brim head off, use it for bait also, and it not only catches big channels, but it also catches some big bass as well, and some big white bass. Usually by early June, I have about 10 or 15 areas that are holding pretty good sized schools of big fish, and the challenge each day is to figure out the best time to be on that specific spot. So usually the live brim, they'll outfish the other baits, but some days we'll downsize, use a drop shot, and catch a bass when they don't want the brim. Skeeter Owners Tournament is coming up on June 3rd and 6th. Boy, they're expecting a record crowd for the event this year. The lake's in good shape. Of course, you can't use live bait during the tournaments, but those same areas they're in will be producing some big bass. Probably be winter, we'll be caught on a jig, some big worms, and Carolina rigs. Here's a picture of young Grayson Knight, one of my clients this last week, with his personal best he caught on a brim, and that young man was one happy camper with that big fish. So each day, more and more bass are moving out deep. That bite will continue to be good for about another month now. June's one of the best months to fish on Lake Fork. I can't wait to get out there and get some big ones biting tomorrow. Come go, Rick.
All right, bub. Thank you so much, Johnny. Great report from the Garmin Upper Fresh region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots. Topwater season is here for the Upper Fresh region. The bass on Lake Welsh and is on poppers and buzz baits. After the early morning bite, switch to a drop shot and a Carolina rig with a red bug plastic. Lake Fork, the bass on a drop shot and a shaky hood, using a little piece of plastic in there too, Bree.
Man, Rick, that Lake Welsh fishing is insane. Probably one of the most challenging places I've ever fished.
It really looked
but
pretty
really
too.
Cool. It's beautiful. Oh my gosh, it was gorgeous. I want to go back. All right, we are almost in weekend mode here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report. So get ready to reel in the Garmin Middle Coast region and keep an eye out for some fancy new products with Dave at the Workbench. Oh, Dave, fancy.
You know what I like about this cooler? It's got wheels on it. I like wheels.
You like
do?
wheels?
Yeah, wheels make things easy.
Oh boy.
Heavier.
We'll be back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Ameritrail. Load, launch, relax. Fenwick. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a Mirrorlure. Diamond Fishing Products. Our reputation is on the line. R&R Tackle. From our tackle box to yours. Berkeley. Your fish, our science. And Startron. Cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems.
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The Yamaha 5.6-liter V8 XTO offshore outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection 4-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven Yamaha reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new Yamaha V8 XTO offshore.
The only reel with over 100 years of heritage. Alvi Sidecast reels allow you to cast over 150 yards with up to 900 yards of capacity. Alvi's state-of-the-art drag and 22-inch retrieve rate per wine is perfect for any surf challenge. Alvi reels are manufactured to best practice standards and are in fact so robust that the Alvi also comes with a 10-year salt and sand warranty. For more information, go to alvius.com.
So Dave, we are here getting ready to talk about new products. And
Yeah?
What
Are you all right?
I'm wondering about the T&H Marine Hydro Wave.
Yes.
For gosh sakes, just tell me, what is this all about?
Well, you know, that's a underwater speaker what you got there in your hand, and what this thing does is it's a marine audio device, and what it does, it broadcasts different sounds. It's got 16 different sounds inside of it, and this is the inshore saltwater version. So all the sounds are like crabs, shrimp in a frenzy, or just being passive, herring in a frenzy, or just being passive. You know, they got, you know, they record schools of bait, and then they record schools of bait getting slashed at by predators and whatnot. And what you can do is you can replay those sounds underneath your boat and try to trying to attract predators. Exactly.
So this is the transducer that goes obviously on a trolling motor or something.
Yeah, you can have a bracket that comes with a bracket inside. You can actually zip tie it to the boat. You can zip tie that.
And is this
down
battery
as well.
operated boat?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sure.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, you know, it comes all the power comes through there as well. You know.
Okay.
You can hook it up through there, and it's, like I said, 16 sound patterns for inshore, stimulates predatory fish, croakers, all that. thmarine.com.
Cool.
If you want to bring
I might have
predators
to put
straight
that on
to your
the
boat.
I might have to put that on the old baby.
Give it a try, man.
Mm-hmm.
Give it a try. Next, we got some Starbright teak cleaner and brightener and the teak oil. We'll start with a cleaner and brightener because that's what you would do. You know, if you've got some old gray or blackened teak, you put that teak cleaner and brightener on there, and it pretty much what it does is usually you'd have to clean it and then come back through with an acid. This pretty much does it all in one step. Cleans it up real nice and brightens it and makes it ready for the oil. And, you know, it gets all the dirt and grime off. Just scrub it down real good, rinse it off, let it dry, and then you're ready to put your teak oil on, which is what you got there, the premium golden teak, which is a sealer and a preserver. It makes the teak look really nice when you put it on there. Goes from being bleached out to a golden, beautiful color. Ultra refined, so you know it withstands long-term exposure to the sun and salt and whatnot, and it's UV resistant. Gives you a nice real color. It can also work on any fine wood furniture you have, teak furniture or anything else. You know, it's a good oil for any furniture you have. The golden oil there.
Nice. I might have to try that. We have a teak floor inside the contender center console.
Well, there you go. Next, real quick, we got some Hobie sunglasses. These are the El Matadors, those ones in the front there. What's really cool about these is they have this folding shields on the sides. Those things fold in when you close them up.
Oh.
So when you fold them back out, the shield really comes out and gives you ultimate protection from the sides, those retracting side shields. Improve your sight lines and blocks the sun from the side coming in. It's got molded rubber pads all around where it touches your skin on the arms and on the nose. And you got really nice 100% polarized mirrored lenses. And this is the little guy here is the Imperial, and this is for a traveling guy, I guess. You know, it actually folds all the way up, full folding frame design, 100% UV, polarized as well. And
that's just really cool, man.
It is pretty cool. You can put them in a really small spot. You know, especially if you're a guy who has to wear glasses sometimes and doesn't have any polarized sunglasses. Those are perfect for you. HobieEyewear.com to get those. Next, last but not least, we got that big Magellan 75 quart ice box down there. I guess we can just stand here and talk about it. We don't have to. We can go out there.
Go
if
ahead.
we want.
Go
it's
ahead.
got
I got you. Go
heavy
ahead.
duty construction. It's got really thick insulation in the middle, inside, so it's got great ice retention. It's got that nice refrigerant style seal on the top that can actually come out. And when you're wanting to clean it, you can remove that and clean it if you want to. I don't know if I'd say anti-skid feet. It's got FDA approved construction methods. Actually, that whole top comes off, Or it opens from either side.
Correct.
You can fold it back and open it from either side.
So you could use this as a cutting board.
You certainly could.
Or even a small table.
Right.
While you're eating. Only thing you got to worry about is melting some of your ice. But I imagine at the quality of this, it looks like it would last a long time.
Yep, it's got nice rope handles on each end, sturdy tow bar, and it's dry ice compatible as well.
And wheels.
Yeah, and oh, by the way,
and
it's got wheels, which is, all these big heavy coolers, they hold a lot of ice, but not many of them have wheels.
All right, good job there, Mr. Farrell. Bree, where are we going?
It also doubles as a child carrier.
There you go.
Yes.
You can put kids in it.
It's a kid wagon.
In your case, two.
Yeah. Exactly. Two would fit perfect. All right, let's head into the Garmin Middle Coast region where the tide is high, but we're holding on. So, Captain Bank, tell us how we're fishing these conditions.
Little Blondie reference there. Hey, tides are the highest I can remember since we had our last name tropical disturbance. That's kind of what we had. We had a depression out there this week, and the tides have been about 3 foot above normal, and the wind's been blowing about 20 knots. The conditions kind of limit us where it's comfortable for us to fish, but at least the high tides give you a chance to hide in the marshes and the protected marshes and stay productive in your fishing. Port O'Connor, that topwater bite's been good early over sand and grass. The back lakes there are holding good numbers of trout on soft plastic and scented baits. The south shoreline around the jetty's been good around sand and grass as well. Sea drift anglers, they've been working the reefs in San Antonio Bay on live shrimp. Mixture of mud and shell has been even better on the south shoreline with these stiff winds. That water's been holding pretty on that south shoreline as that grass filters out over there. In West Matagorda Bay, Guide Ray Sexton said he's been seeing good trout action there. Sand and grass humps, the same thing, holding a lot of little minnows and shrimp on that incoming tide. He's been working the moon and the tide to perfection with good catches on bass assassins. East Matagorda Bay, lots of big trout been caught and released while drifting. That's the good thing. People are releasing. We had one trip out of the lodge last week where we had 6 boats. We all limited it on trout, but not one of us kept a fish. It was a great day. We released fish for up to 6 pounds. It was just one of those banner days that shows that our fishery is stable and coming back. In Rockport, Guide Rhett Price says the trout are good on artificials along the shoreline. Slow sinking corkies and softines have worked good right along the grass line. Topwater action's been good along the shoreline of 2 to 4 foot on Berkeley jaywalkers. And also bass drop and chocolate bays around Freeport and Surfside have been good on live shrimp over the reef. You can also work those rocks in the harbor with live shrimp tight to it. They're free lining or they're putting them underneath the cork and doing really well. Like I said, most of the guys have been playing catch and release with our trout, trying to take pressure off of them. And we're finding, man, that we're in good shape, but we're changing attitudes, and it's really going to help our fishery. Photo there's Shelby Collier. He caught and released this healthy speck while we were working the jetties last week. Man, that fish was near 6 pounds, and he happily released him back to the depths of the jetty.
The fat belly.
Yay.
All right, tell us.
Redfish.
Go ahead.
I tell you, our redfish has been really, really good. Man, they kind of take off when our tides are so high. With them 3 foot above normal, it's been really good. Brett Sweeney said those back lakes off the ICW have been good on mullet. Points holding shell on the south shoreline have been good on live shrimp. Port A, those back lakes that are holding trout are also holding redfish on gold spoons and small topwaters. Drifting those back lakes with live shrimp, rigged about a foot below a cork, has been good as well. Near Palacios, those best catches have come on windy days along wind-blown shorelines. That stirred up water, it actually gets those reds moving and going along the shoreline. If you find real clear water, those fish are not in that clear water. They're in that off-colored water, and that color change, and they're chasing all that shrimp, and they're boiling and eating crabs and shad and shrimp and all that stuff. Rockport anglers have been finding redfish scattered with the trout. They're anchoring along the edges of the flat and catching them on cut bait and cut skipjacks. East Flat is always good on a high tide, and so is the Estes Flat, drifting with gold spoons and small topwaters. Offshore, man, it's hard to talk about anything right now. It's getting close to June 1st, and everybody's ready to catch red snapper. It hasn't been easy out there because it's just been blowing and going, and the norm's been 5 to 7 feet out there. So it's been kind of tough for smaller boats to venture offshore. But there's a lot of snapper out there, and we look forward to getting after them June the 1st. Kingfish are just about everywhere, according to Michael Quebeca. The jetty out to 200 foot are holding kings on ribbon eels and while trolling divers. Cobia, they're impressive around the rigs. Lots of ling have been following the red snapper to the surface. And if you have a rod ready to pitch it to a ling, you know, you can catch them on little mullet and little bitty finger shad. That's you know, kind of what's been going on out there. Like I said, we're happy that red snapper season is about to open, and we've had another great week along the Garmin Middle Coast region. We ask you, please be mindful of others this Memorial Day weekend. Have fun and treat our estuaries with the utmost respect.
All right, thank you so much, Bink. We're going to go and take a look at the MirrOlure hotspots. He says that trout up to 5 pounds are good while drifting over shell in 6 feet of water in East Matagorda Bay. The redfish action is best in the back lakes of Port O'Connor on bass assassins and Berkeley jaywalkers, Bree and Dave.
Well, like Bink said, it is Memorial Day weekend coming up. Please be careful.
Be careful.
You know, everyone's out on the water.
Have fun.
Hopefully, I mean,
That's right.
hopefully the weather holds up for this weekend, but.
And if you are out in the boat, don't forget, it's the law now, at 26 feet boat or smaller, you gotta wear that kill switch.
Yep. Happy Memorial Day. Thanks for tuning in.
Be
We'll see you
safe,
next
guys.
week.